Each season, Guys Telling Stories seeks out fascinating people with a good story to tell. I'm Rich Douglas, and this man beside me is my co-host, Bill Easton. We're a couple guys who love a good story. So join us on our quest to find fascinating people with a good story to tell. This is Guys Telling Stories. Great to be here with you, Bill.
Yeah, Rich, how we doing?
Oh, we're doing great. We're hitting the road.
Oh, yes, we are. Road trip.
Yep, and we're going to visit Niagara Falls.
Yeah, well, we're not. Yeah, we're going to Niagara Falls. We're going to find out what we're going to do in Niagara Falls.
Right. We're going to talk to our guests first. We're going to find out the best of Niagara Falls. We're going to get a list of everything we're supposed to do, and then we're going. It's not the first time that we're going, but it's the first time we're going.
We've never gone together.
On a mission.
No, we've never gone together.
No, and we're researching our travel guide, and then we're going to share it with our listeners. So.
You know what? I know what not to do.
Well, all right, lay it on me. What should we not do in Niagara Falls?
If you are very, very, very allergic to shellfish, do not go to a buffet for breakfast where the crab legs are next to the waffles, and use the tongs, even though they're in the waffles, put it on your plate, because someone has reached with those tongs into the crab legs, and it will contaminate them, and you might die.
This sounds like it may have actually happened.
And it did actually happen. The last time I went to Niagara Falls, it was probably, 15 years ago.
Oh, man. Well,
so it's been a long time.
We're going to make sure to do everything in our power where you don't almost die this time.
Good.
Now, just to clarify, we are talking about Niagara Falls, Canada.
Canada.
And we're going to visit for a weekend. It's known as one of the new 8th wonders of the world. It's been called the honeymoon capital of the world, and it's a place people want to go to travel to at least once to see this amazing creation of nature. It's along the same lines as Grand Canyon or something like the Great Wall of China. It's just, something you got to go take a trip to. So you ready?
I'm ready. And for our local listeners, I'm looking forward to some comments and feedback on what you like and why you go to Niagara Falls, Canada, because I'm curious why everyone goes.
Yeah, but we're going to get some help because we have our guest today, Lindsay Davies, and she is a blogger. She runs a site called I've Been Bit, a travel blog. And she has written about dozens of adventures that she's taken to Niagara Falls. She's taken friends there. These are travel adventures. And she writes about all the best parts of her travels, including this blog post she had called An Insider's Guide to Visiting Niagara Falls, the best of Niagara Falls. Mm-hmm. So before our trip, I say we get the best tips from a passionate traveler like Lindsay who loves Niagara Falls.
All right. Hope she brought her EpiPen.
All right. Let's talk to Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. No problem. Lindsay, where are we talking to you from right now?
So I am in pretty chilly Kitchener, Ontario, which is about an hour outside of Toronto.
Great. And before we get started, can you tell everybody what you are doing and how to find you and, any website or Facebook or blog information you want to share?
Yeah. So my blog is I've Been Bit, I've Been Bit by the Travel Bug. You can find it at i'vebeenbit.ca. And I also have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, too many social media channels. But if you search I've Been Bit, I'll probably come up.
Well, before we get into Niagara Falls, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started blogging?
Yeah, sure. So I had just graduated university and I had done a couple of trips and I was at home. I had moved back in with my parents, loved them to death, but I needed a little bit of structure. And so I've been mulling over the idea for actually quite some time, way too long. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go in, jump in and do it. So my blog kind of more started as like a diary-ish of just like, hey, I went here. This was great. And it wasn't until really about 2-ish years ago that I went back and read some of my old posts. And I'm like, these are useless.
It's like looking at old high school photos. Like
exactly,
you might think you look skinny, but in reality, you're like, why did I wear my hair like that? Like what that shirt?
I looked up my old resume. It just popped up on my Word documents, and you had to have a resume.
I remember resumes. Yeah,
I'm just like, why in the world would I put all this stuff?
You phrase it a certain way.
Oh my gosh!
So you decided that you didn't like the old post. So take it from there.
Yeah, so it's quite the process to try to kind of go in and update them. So it's an ongoing battle. But yeah, I kind of just had one of those moments where it's like, okay, I actually want to help people with my blog, not just tell all the ridiculous stuff that I get up to. So I try to keep it more towards like, insider tips or itineraries or, ideas of things to do when you go to a destination, what to expect, that kind of thing. And then I'll usually kind of put in little snippets of what are usually mishaps into the post, kind of say, don't do what I did. Be prepared for this because this is what I did, so don't do it.
Yeah, so what makes you an expert in Niagara Falls?
I've been there more times than I can count.
Right.
Growing up in St. Catharines, and I had, like, anytime somebody from out of town came in, it was always, all right, let's go to Niagara Falls. And it's really funny because, I wouldn't really go myself very often. It was always that kind of, okay, let's go play tourist. And it's like, it's really silly in a way because you take advantage of, how many millions of people come to see Niagara Falls and you're just like, oh yeah, it's in my backyard, whatever. So that's kind of what made me write my main post about Niagara Falls, which is my insider tips, because I've been going so many times that I was like, well, I have all of this knowledge. I should share it because there are some things, people can get, it is a tourist trap. So people can get caught up in, things that maybe will put a bad taste in their mouth from, in peak seasons and stuff like that. So I was like, here, hopefully these tips will help people who are planning a trip there get the best experience that they can. And that's what it's all about, right? When you travel, you want to go, you want to have a great time, and you want to be able to share, those memories and look back on them and be like, yeah, that trip was awesome. So hopefully
I completely understand that because we have family and friends that come here and you want to take them somewhere, but you also don't think about that it's here in your backyard and you probably should go more often.
Well, let's dive right in then. Based on your insider tips, when's the best time of the year to visit Niagara Falls and why?
So it might just be my crazy Canadian showing, but I prefer the winter for a number of reasons. It's nice to go to Niagara Falls when there isn't hordes of tourists and visitors, like you see in the summer months. And Niagara Falls is just even more magical, especially when we get really big cold spells. I believe it was last year, Niagara Falls, like the Horseshoe Falls almost like froze over, which is unheard of because the amount of water that comes through the Niagara River. But seeing the Horseshoe Falls and the American Falls with all of these beautiful ice formations, that to me, that's the best time to see it. It's like you've just walked into a room in Elsa's ice castle, out of Frozen. And then it's also great because it's really easy to save money, just because it isn't peak season. So if you're willing to brave the cold, you'll be rewarded. You've got a lot of great deals. Niagara Parks is a big one. They do an awesome I think it's the Wonder Pass it's called. And you can get a bunch of great attractions for a fraction of the cost. So especially for big families who are looking to go out and travel and experience Niagara Falls, I'd say that's the best time to do it because it's going to, it's the amount you'll pay versus what you would pay in the summer is, it's insane how cheap you can get some stuff. So
that's called a Wonder Pass?
I believe so. Let me check because they have a couple of different names for them. But I believe that the one, yes, it is the Wonder Pass is the one in the during the winter time. And it's a little different just because I know, a big draw for Niagara Falls is, the Maid of the Mist, which is now the Hornblower, which you can't do in the winter.
What? They changed the Maid of the Mist name?
Well,
where have I been?
There's two of them.
Okay.
So they used to go by the same name, and on the Canadian side, it's the Hornblower now. So, so you're saying that it might be closed if you go during these winter months?
Yeah, I believe it opens early or mid May. So you can still get some great deals if you go at that time, but you won't be able to do the actual cruise itself. But there are so many other great attractions in Niagara that you can, if anything, it just means that you have to come back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we are going to take your advice and brave the winter. That's our plan. We're gonna.
Well, it's winter right now.
Exactly. So we're on our way. So let's say it's day one. and you got to see the falls. And of course, you could just walk right up and take a picture from the railing, or you're driving by it looking for a place to park. You could snap a quick picture. But what's the best way to see Niagara Falls in Niagara Falls?
Hands down, I would say that would be the journey behind the falls. And that's where you go down and you're able to really get kind of up close and personal, and really feel the rumble of the falls. And you don't get that sense of that feeling, like you do, just kind of viewing from the top. Cause I think it's pretty easy to just kind of come in, like you said, stand by the railing and go like, wow, like that's a lot of water. But when you go in, you're like, wow, like you can really feel how much, the force of that power. And it's really cool. But there's a lot of great history in that down there. Niagara Parks does a great job with the panels, and it's really fascinating. And so I would hands down, that is the best way, in my opinion, to experience Niagara Falls.
And I've been to Niagara Falls multiple times, and I've never done that. In looking stuff up, you go 125 feet down into these bedrock tunnels, and like you said, you're literally standing up close next to the falls, feeling the spray. You're wearing one of those funny ponchos, and there's these viewing platforms. So probably a good pro tip here is to just dress in layers. If you're worried if you're going to get too wet, they give you a cover, and if you're worried about being too cold, just bring a jacket, and then throw it on, and then if you get hot later, you can always take it off. But that sounds like a really great way to start your visit, especially in the daytime, before you get hungry, before you want to have anything to eat or drink.
So Lindsay, we're at the falls. We do all this stuff, but the reason that a lot of us are going to go up there, we want to party a little, want to have some drinks, want to
adult fun. Obviously.
Adult fun, yes.
Adult fun after seeing the falls.
So what do you suggest up in Niagara Falls? We all know about the touristy bars and
what is like the Hard Rock Cafe type stuff. Yeah. Places that you can go to anywhere.
Exactly.
It's like so what are some insider tips?
Well, one of the big things a lot of people go to do is the casinos, and there are two. There is Casino Niagara, there's the Falls View, but for me, I think the best time is you go to Clifton Hill, and there's the Great Canadian Midway, and then there's also connected to it. They've put in it's been quite a few years now, but there's a Boston Pizza, and they've got like a little bowling alley and a bunch of arcade games, and you can have some drinks, and you can get super fierce and air hockey like I do because I'm super competitive.
Nice.
And you can just honestly just like let loose and have such a great time, and that's pretty much my go-to. Whenever I have friends from out of town, I'm like, all right, we'll go, see the falls. Cool. Now we're going to go and experience my Niagara Falls, which is having some drinks, probably a few too many, and playing way too many arcade games. And
so Clifton Hill's still like the thing up there to do.
Oh yeah. I don't think she'll ever die.
Okay.
Just keeps on going.
Can you describe the environment of Clifton Hill? What does it look like, feel like, sound like?
Yeah. It has been often referred to as like a mini Las Vegas. I really can't say because I've actually never been to Las Vegas. But there's lots of bright lights. There's, lots of fun attractions. There's a big Ferris wheel, the Sky Wheel, which offers some pretty great views of the area. There's restaurants, there's haunted houses, which I'm terrified of, so I do not go in. And there's mini pot and kind of all those fun, kind of classic activities that you can do. So honestly, like you could just spend a day in Clifton Hill alone and probably still not be bored. There's a lot to do in the area, and there's definitely no shortage of places to eat or anything like that. So it's a great little spot.
Yeah, it sounds like it's like an adult playground almost. You get to run around, you have your drinks, you play your arcade games, and then you can run across the street and do something else. I'm not a fan of the haunted houses either, so I'm going to stick with you and maybe just play some arcade games.
They're fun. Yeah. They're fun when you're in there.
The last time I went in one, we paid our money and we left in less than 2 minutes. And we didn't ask for a refund. We knew it was our fault. And it was three of us.
Yeah.
So
the last time I went to one, actually, I think it was the only time I ever went to one, ever. And I was in grade 9. And I literally I forced my friends to go in front, and I just held onto the back of her shirt and cried the entire way.
But
So,
you made it through? Good for you.
I did, but I didn't see a damn thing because I had my eyes closed the whole time. I'm terrible. Yeah, I'm the worst to take anywhere that is scary. Like watching like a scary movie on TV or on Netflix, cool, no worries. But to actually go somewhere where things can jump out at me, yeah, no, not a fan. Not a fan.
Well, it's day 2 in Niagara Falls. You've seen the falls. You had some fun last night. What would you suggest for other activities?
We're going for 2 days?
Yeah, we're spending the night.
Oh, that's fabulous.
You have to spend the night. That's like, if you don't, then you miss out on so much. You gotta spend the night. For the second day, I would definitely say, if you haven't done some of the other attractions, like I mentioned, that Wonder Pass, there's the Butterfly Conservatory, which is a great spot.
Sounds quiet because I'm hungover.
Cold. Say what? Sorry?
I said that sounds quiet because I'm hungover.
A Butterfly Conservatory, yeah.
Yes, and it's really neat. There's a lot of tropical butterflies. It's nice and warm, and you pretty much just hang out and kind of walk through these beautiful exhibits, and you'll see just different species, and they'll actually like fly around you. If you sit still, they'll actually land on top of you, or in my case, they will try to dive bomb your face. So that led to some really funny pictures. There's some pictures of me where I'm like, like terrible expressions. It's hilarious. But yeah, that's it's a great one. Also, just because it's family friendly as well. The Floral Show House. And I can't remember the name of the plant, but it's been in the news. It was in the news a couple weeks or months ago. There's one that only blooms like I think it's like once a year or something, and it smells really bad. But
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and it's like smells like death or something.
Yeah, they have one of those. And they'll actually, if you follow the Niagara Parks Facebook page, they'll update you like as it's going to bloom. I've never seen it myself, but that's pretty cool. And then my biggest thing that I love to do is I'm a hiker, so I love going to the Niagara Glen, and it's about 4 kilometers of these beautiful trails. It's up just by if you're heading towards the Whirlpool Aero Car, that area, and it might be a little tricky in the winter. I've never done it in the winter months because I don't know how well maintained the trails themselves are. So if you do, I would proceed with caution. But the trails are great. They're really well marked, and it offers some really awesome views of the Niagara River. And if you're able to kind of really get up close, and you can really see just how turquoise the water is. It's almost like Caribbean waters, which you would not expect in Niagara at all. So I would say if you can get down there and take your time, and I don't miss it. It's super great.
Yeah, it sounds like doing that or doing the butterfly, whatever, or conservatory. On that second day, you can kind of be outside for a little bit and then go warm up, or you can start it nice and warm and then go have an adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a good tip because I think most people skip out on doing the trails, and that sounds like a totally different perspective for seeing those falls. Yeah, and honestly, I was terrible, and I only went for the first time just by growing up in the area just a few weeks ago. And as soon as I walked out, I kicked myself. I was like, why have I not been here before? I am ridiculous. So please go. It is great. And then, if you do go in the winter and it's pretty chilly, there's also Niagara on the Lake, which is not too far away. You can warm up and enjoy some of, our amazing world-class wines.
That's right.
And especially in the winter, we've got our ice wine, and Niagara is actually the biggest exporter of ice wine. I think it's not 90, it's like 95% of Canada's ice wine comes from Niagara.
Wow.
Because we just have the perfect climate for it, as long as the weather cooperates, obviously. So don't miss out on that. There's so many great wineries, and more just keep popping up all the time.
We've tried ice wines a few times, and some of them are they're very, very sweet. So it's more of a dessert style wine.
Definitely a slow sipping wine.
Yeah.
And they were expensive. I remember specifically, I won't bore you with the details, but we ended up eating at the captain's table for one of our cruises. It was an all-inclusive meal, and the drinks obviously were included too. And for like a nightcap at the end of the dinner and dessert. They gave us this menu that had some 25-year-old port and some ice wine from Niagara Falls. And I remember the price, which we did not have to pay for, was over $75 for a glass.
Some of them, it's crazy expensive. There are more affordable options. I think a lot of the time it just depends on the prestige of the location it's coming from and probably the process and, how much it's been aged and stuff like that, right? It's just
and the weather, because sometimes you can't use all the grapes.
Yeah, if anybody asks or is wondering what ice wine is, it literally is these grapes left on the vine until ice freezes over and it reaches a specific temperature. For the sake, it's like 17 degrees Fahrenheit or -8 Celsius. And then they have to pick these frozen grapes that look like black raisins, and they have to press them immediately in this continuous process so that they're never thawed. And then, depending, like Bill said, on the weather, they may get a big batch or they may only get a little bit. And it's all dependent on the harvest. So I can see why that labor-intensive winemaking process could be expensive. But
it's also the timing too, right? Like as soon as it starts to drop, then you need to be out there right away. So it's kind of like you're always on call, like waiting for the grapes. Oh, when can we harvest? So. But yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm not the biggest fan of the super sweet ones, but I've found that if you find like a Vidal late harvest, it's not quite as sweet, and that's a little bit easier to sip, and it's really good. That's my favorite one. So,
Lindsay, for that end of day 2, it sounds like you can go off the beaten path to Niagara on the Lake. You can check out Niagara Glen. Go to the Butterfly Conservatory. But let's get back to some food or drink suggestions. Any like kind of cool places to grab a quick bite, a cold drink, adult beverage that you'd recommend after the wineries?
Oh man, but with it being a kind of a peak area, there's no shortage of places to eat. If you want to go a little bit more on the like treat yourself fancier side, a great one is you can go up the Skylawn Tower, which is kind of like the mini CN Tower of Niagara Falls. And they have a rotating restaurant. And the prices actually aren't as bad as you think it would be. And the food's really good. It's top notch and you get great views, especially if you go around kind of sunset time. You can see it during the day and then, as the sun sets and then into the night. It's a great spot. I think I spent my 16th birthday. I think that's where we went for dinner and I felt super fancy. And then if you are going to be a little off the beaten path, over in Niagara on the Lake, Tide and Vine, is an amazing little seafood restaurant. And it's some of the best in the region. And they recently just did a revamp. I think they did a renovation of their place. So it might be a little bit bigger now. Before, when I went, there was like maybe 10 tables. It was super tiny, but it was, the food is to die for. It's so good.
Great.
Well, Lindsay, this is incredible. I'm excited to go save some money. I'm excited to check out the view, the falls, this breathtaking creation, this natural wonder, and have some fun over there. So thank you so much for doing the show.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I always love talking about my home area and giving some local tips.
Well, through the magic of podcasting, Bill, we're off to Niagara Falls.
Let's do it.
And we'll talk to you as soon as we get back from the break and from Niagara Falls.
All right, let's go.
Before we head off, quick break to talk about the good folks at Brew Bus Buffalo. They're proud to sponsor the podcast. Brew Bus Buffalo is an all-inclusive VIP beer tasting experience located right here in Western New York. Bill, I'd like to ask you, what makes Brew Bus Buffalo a one-of-a-kind experience?
Well, we can do a public and private tour for your group. You can buy tickets to a public tour. It's called our Buffalo Local Tour, and that will take you to 3 of Buffalo's favorite breweries, and all your tastings are included. Or for a private group, we can customize your tour and go wherever you like, and you can even pick the day and time to do it.
Oh, excellent. I know you just did one with a bachelorette party, and you got to make sure everybody had a good time. And also for people who are non-drinkers, they had a good time too.
They did. We actually had 3 people on that tour that were not drinkers. One was pregnant, but there's other things, you get to learn about the beer, and there's some special experiences kind of behind the scenes. So even if you're not drinking that day, you can still find it very entertaining and educational as well.
Awesome. So if you're visiting the Buffalo area or Niagara Falls, check out Brew Bus Buffalo. And our listeners get $5 off when you book through their website, brewbusbuffalo.com. Just use promo code BEER5. That's BEER, the number 5, to save $5 off your VIP brewery tour with Brew Bus Buffalo. And now, off to Niagara Falls. All right, we're back from Niagara Falls.
Welcome back.
A little hiccup along the way, Bill. You didn't come.
Well, we were feeling a little under the weather, and then a business opportunity came up, so we chose to stay at home.
Yep. Well, we still went, though, meaning I went with my travel companion and wife, Courtney. So
all 3 of you?
Yeah. She's the same person.
Oh, okay.
Courtney, welcome to Guys Telling Stories. Thanks for coming to Niagara Falls with me, and thanks for doing the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of the show.
Well, we appreciate you listening for all these years. And we're here to tell all our listeners all about Niagara Falls. So, Bill, why don't you take the lead on asking us about it since you weren't there, and we'll tell you what we liked, what we didn't.
Well, I saw all the pictures already. So, no, I'm just kidding. So, well, let's just start with the easy one. What was the most fun thing you guys did while you were in Niagara Falls?
I think for me, it was definitely getting that Wonder Pass that Lindsay recommended. Having a variety of things to do was a really nice opportunity. We did the Journey Behind the Falls, the Niagara Fury movie ride, the Falls Incline Railway, and the Butterfly Conservatory. And it really all didn't take that long. So we got to kind of see a nice variety of Niagara Falls.
Yeah, that was all on the first day too, and it really is a good suggestion. I mean, that was so affordable. We got parking. As soon as you show up, it's kind of like very, very, very busy there and very scenic. And we had to find where to park. There seemed like there was like one lot, and parking was included. And then we went to this visitor center. And Court, you were right. We got to go behind the falls, and like Lindsay said, that probably is one of the coolest ways to experience just the power and the force behind everything that you see. And even though it was winter, they still gave us those ponchos. We still brought our son; he was in the backpack.
Oh, nice! That's
right. And
forgot about that.
And you could get some pictures. You really couldn't see the falls, but you could feel the power and you could hear the sound. So for me, I would say that was probably one of the best things too. But I have another tip.
Yeah, go for it.
So the hotel we stayed at, I think it was like the Holiday Inn Express. It included free parking. So for everybody that's looking to book a weekend there, maybe call ahead or ask your hotel if you can park for free. And we were able not only to park for free, but when we showed up, they gave us complimentary passes to go up that Skyline Tower.
Oh, cool.
Now, Lindsay recommended that as maybe a place to go eat, but Court, you can jump in here too. We were able to walk around a 360-degree tower, take a look at the falls from that like bird's eye view. You went outside. I stayed with the baby in the stroller. Did you think that would be something you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and her tip of going in the off season definitely paid off there. I mean, you could see when you walk in, they have those roped lines where people wait. And we literally walked right on the elevator. There was no line. It was a really cool view because you got to see both the Horseshoe Falls and what's the other one called? Is it just the American Falls?
Yeah, I think American.
Horseshoe and American.
Yeah. So you got to see both of them from one perspective, which was kind of cool.
Now,
yes.
Is that free parking perk in Skylon? Is that something because it's off season that you get when you stay there, or is that something they do year round?
Well, that would be my tip. Call ahead because when we were looking to stay just for one night, we used some, of course, credit card points, and it just so happened that the free parking was included in the place we were staying. And the complimentary Skyline Tower, when we got there, I think it was in the $20 range per person, and I think they charged for kids too. So if you add up the parking and the Skyline Towers, just booking the right hotel saved us over $100. And I would say don't miss out on seeing the falls from so high up there. That'd be probably one of the things I really enjoyed the most.
Yeah, and I also would just add, as much as I liked going in the winter because it was less crowded, I still would probably be willing to bear the crowds to go when it's a little bit nicer. I mean, going behind the falls, I mean, we kind of poked our heads out quickly to be like, oh, there's the falls. It's freezing cold and windy. Let's go back in. And also having that opportunity to do Maid of the Mist, which is, we didn't obviously do it because it was wintertime, but I have done it before. And that's a really cool event or attraction to do if you're going to go to Niagara Falls for sure.
Well, tourists tend to be like creatures of habit. So if you do go back in the summer, just remember that they're all going to go at the same time. They're all going to wake up and go have their big breakfast buffet at the casino, and they're probably not going to get out there until like 12:30, and that's when everything's going to be crazy. So if you actually want to do those things, just think of when everyone else is going to do them and work around them. That's pretty much what I try to do anywhere we go. So.
Yeah, and one other kind of suggestion of something to check out with that Wonder Pass, that falls, I believe it was called like the incline railway, that aero car thing. That has to be the shortest, quickest,
it's like
smallest
30 seconds.
ride ever. But especially with like kids, it was kind of fun. It was like a ride where you're kind of like going up and you're seeing the falls. Like, oh, this is cool. Let's take a video. When we got to the top, we just got back on and went back down. But it's included for free, and so it's another perk. And again, you'll get some really good pictures. Kind of a different way of seeing Niagara Falls when you're actually in Niagara Falls. And
same with that movie that we went to. If you have kids, it was almost animation themed. There was like a little, I think it was like a otter or something, and it was cute. And they do like the 4D where they splash you with water a little bit. So that's just a fun thing to do as well.
Cool. So those are good suggestions and tips, and obviously things that you did. Do you have any other tips or suggestions, especially for people visiting for the first time who may not live here in Buffalo? Maybe they're coming in, sometime this summer.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I would definitely plan a day where you're traveling around the area to explore even more. I think in that Wonder Pass they include like a free bus ride, almost like a shuttle up and down, not only the main part of Niagara Falls, but all the way up to the Butterfly Conservatory, I think. And for example, where we're looking around and we're just seeing like lights and noise and attractions and all these people. And if you just travel a little bit farther up north, like I believe it's that Niagara Parkway recreational trail, you're going to see just the most beautiful scenery, and it's quiet, and it's kind of like that natural Niagara Falls like environment that you would maybe expect, like before they built a bunch of hotels and restaurants and everything along the way. And that is making your way up towards the wineries. So I would say maybe take a drive. Maybe rent a bicycle if the weather's nice, or maybe even hop on that bus and just go explore a little bit further up north. And it really will give you a different perspective of Niagara Falls.
Sometimes when we travel, especially together, we have such a short amount of time that we forget to do things like that. So that's a very good tip, Rich. Courtney, how about you? Yeah,
I would say to kind of piggyback on what Rich said, have a little bit of a plan before you go. That way you're not wasting any time. You can have a little bit of an itinerary of the attractions you want to do. And then also, he mentioned that bus. If you purchase that Wonder Pass, you do get, I believe, a free bus ride. And the parking there is pretty limited, especially in the area around the attractions. So if you kind of park in one spot, you can take the bus from, for example, Journey Behind the Falls out to the Butterfly Conservatory, which is a few miles away. So otherwise, you'd have to pay for parking twice, which might be, $20 here, $20 there. So it saves some money, and figure out the bus trail ahead of time and use that. And then the other thing I would mention would be to take the 15 to 20 minute drive for sure up to the wineries on Niagara on the Lake. They're just different than wineries that I'm used to. I mean, we typically go out to the Finger Lakes, and the wine there is awesome. I would say I actually maybe like the wine better at Finger Lakes, but the wineries themselves at Niagara on the Lake are like individual castles. They're just beautiful places, and it's a more relaxing afternoon. So I would say maybe even save, if you wanted to do some hiking or some bike riding, maybe save that for the second day and do that along with the wineries. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, our favorite winery by far was Rife. And because even though they had a tasting fee, that tasting fee included some of that ice wine that Lindsay told us about. And it was just as sweet as you remember it. And I definitely didn't want to purchase it because, number one, was too sweet. And then number 2, it was like super expensive.
Yeah.
So the fact that that's included in your tasting fee is really nice because a lot of the other wineries don't include that. And another thing Rife did is they refunded your tasting fee towards the purchase of a bottle. So sometimes you're just there to taste and move on to the next winery. In our case, we really liked what we tasted, and we ended up buying, I think, 2 bottles.
No, that's super cool.
Yeah, and like kind of taking them home.
Why would you not want to do that after you after they do that for you?
And we did here too in the summer. That place is like is lively to say the least. They have like an outdoor serving table where you can order like flatbread pizzas and sandwiches. They have like a slushie machine, so that might be a good one to plan to check out and take a little break and maybe have like a light lunch or something.
Cool. So to just to go back on the Wonder Pass costs $25, and it seems like that was well worth it for you guys. And you got to get out of there and take the bus and go explore the Niagara on the Lake and the wineries so far. So far, we're doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and this is what, 2 days?
Yeah, we only did the 2 days, and with the baby, this was day 2, so we didn't hit it like too hard any of the days. We really got a chance to explore that first day, and then hit up a couple other attractions, a few wineries the second day. So really, I mean, it's nice if you could stay an extra day, maybe even like a long weekend. But if you just got to go for one night, you're going to be able to see a lot.
So you have a infant, basically, not even one yet. You go into Niagara Falls for 2 days. You obviously are going to run out of time. There's too much to do there. We all know that. If you were to go back, let's say, same time next year, so you still have a baby, a little older, what would you do next time differently? Maybe what would you go see that you didn't get to see this time? What would you change in your itinerary? What would you do differently next time you go?
I think we have a really cool hiking backpack for the little guy. And I think it holds him up to like 50 pounds even. So I think next year if we go back, we would maybe...
Did you buy it for yourself?
I think we would try to hit up one of the more scenic hiking trails. I know there's the Niagara Parkway Recreational Trail. I've also heard of like Devil's Hole and Niagara Gorge are all really cool areas to hike around. Just to kind of get outdoors a little bit, especially if it's kind of like a sunny winter day. Those are kind of some nice hiking weather. So
yeah, and similar to what Lindsay said, it was just too tricky in the winter to try to plan a hike. As we were driving past the Niagara Glen, I didn't even look like there was a soul in sight. So I don't think you'd want to try to maneuver that. But imagine, again, if the weather was a little bit nicer and maybe you just bared the crowds and the tourists attractions on the first day, you could go kind of take a peaceful walk along that trail. And if
walk your hangover away?
Maybe. We did not do, We did not do Clifton Hill.
No. Okay.
But one of the things that I might do, Bill, like you mentioned, is maybe plan to just take a little relaxing, like happy hour or like quick bite to eat, somewhere that has a view of the falls. There was 2 places that we passed by. It just wasn't like lunchtime or happy hour yet. It was the Niagara Brewing Company at the foot of Clifton Hill. We saw a big sign that they had 3 happy hours. They called them happy hours. From like 3 to 4, 7 to 8, 11 to midnight. And I think that might be a good place just to grab a drink and watch the water. And the other one that was included, I think, in the Wonder Pass was some sort of discount on the horse landing patio that I think they're redoing and opening in the spring. Or I think another name for it might be the Elements on the Falls restaurant. It's like some sort of, very, very basic, like burger and French fry kind of place, but just having a meal while watching Niagara Falls flow and all the tourists running around, I think would be a nice way to sort of soak it all in, take some pictures without feeling like you're on the move. So maybe we would plan that the next time we visit.
It's fun watching tourists.
Yeah, it's like
sitting back, having a beer, and
good people watching, eating a burger, just being like, oh, look at the selfie stick.
Probably not as fun as watching people try to make the cruise ship.
Nothing to rush towards. Yeah, absolutely.
So if you could go back to redo this trip exactly the day before that you left, is there anything you would change? Is there anything that you didn't do correctly? Anything that you would just do differently if you could redo the entire thing over? I'll start with you, Court.
Ooh,
you can say no. I mean, I know you. This is we talked to an expert. We planned really well.
I think we would maybe look into that bus, just because we did drive and park twice. I think so. I think having the bus and utilizing that probably would have been a little bit more efficient than driving to and from the attractions.
If that's the one thing you would change, you did very well. Rich, how about you? Anything you can think of?
No, I think we did a great job. With Lindsay's tips, I mean, we had a little bit of an agenda and itinerary that we had to start crossing things off because we were just running out of time. She mentioned some great restaurants. We didn't get a chance to check them out. So, next time. And some of the same attractions, like she was talking about the floral showcase next time. We did do the butterfly conservatory, so maybe we can say, cross that off the list and not do that the next time and take in something else. So I would just say, if you can plan the extra day and you can pack even more in. And if you can't, that's okay too. You got to go back again.
Well, we were disappointed we couldn't join you because the last time we talked to an expert before going on a journey was Bermuda. And we talked about it, but that was a really good time. So when you go on these trips, even when they're close to home, like ours was, yours was, we didn't go. It's always important to listen to an expert and look up some expert advice and get those tips and suggestions because they might save you time, money, or just give you an overall better experience.
Yeah, that way you're not just wandering around wondering what to do.
Yeah, because trying to search for things on your phone, you're going to end up going in that same 1 mile radius as everybody else. And some of the tips that Lindsay gave, hopefully some of the ones that we shared with you are ones that you could check out. And then let us know, if you found anything. We're going to post this on Facebook and it'll be on all the social media. And let Lindsay know if you want to comment on her original blog post, what you liked and maybe suggestions, because she said she was in the process of revising hers, of maybe some things she should check out for next time. I want to say thank you to Lindsay, Courtney. Thank you for being my wife and travel companion. You did a great job on your first podcast. Is this your first podcast?
First podcast.
Long-time listener, first-time guest. All right. And to all the people we met in Niagara Falls, good to meet you. So we're going to post these links, like I said, on social media. Let us know what you thought by commenting there. And if you have any questions about Niagara Falls or we missed anything, like some of your favorite places, let us know in the comments section.
Oh, yeah. Let's make that a little interactive. Even if it's just a place to eat dinner, the fish fry's great. Avoid the clams. I always try to. Whatever your suggestions are, post them. Let us know.
All right, guys. Well, as always, subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. And one of the best ways you can help spread the word is to tell a friend. So, again, thanks to Lindsay. Thanks to Courtney. And as always, I'm Rich Douglas.
And you are?
I'm Courtney.
I'm Bill Easton.
Until next time.